Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Iblis Manifestations podcast. This channel features lengthy off-limits conversations with various different artists and entrepreneurs, predominantly from the underground metal scene. We take deep dives into the topics of life, music, spirituality, and take insight from a variety of thought-provoking perspectives from personalities who you don't often hear from in a mainstream settings. I am your host, Cheyenne, and I was originally born and raised in Iran and currently reside in the UK. I am the frontman and founding member of the black death metal band TRIVAX, who have been active since 2009. The band originally started in the Islamic Republic of Iran, where such type of music is banned as well as a punishable offense. You can check the band's pages for any updates on tour dates as well as new music. I am also a personal trainer and an online fitness coach who specializes in people achieving the best versions of themselves physically and mentally. Having been someone who was once extremely out of shape and overweight, I find it to be my duty to be able to pass on the information and knowledge which I've gained to help others achieve the same transformation. The Iblis Manifestations podcast also features a variety of solo episodes where I discuss personal experiences and anecdotes in a very candid fashion, covering everything from mental health, spirituality, philosophy, and even paranormal experiences. This is the Iblis Manifestations podcast. To support it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and visit the link in the descriptions.
It's great talking to you, Cheyenne, really. And best of luck to your endeavors for this podcast. I think it's a great initiative.
You're my favorite person to talk to for interviews and stuff. So I love what you're espousing out here. I love the knowledge and the perspectives that you're curating through this, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
As I told you, it was one of the most interesting interviews I've ever had, because we talk a lot more things than just music, and I really appreciated that.
I respect you deeply, and it's an honor to be here.
And friends, remember as always, better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. Enjoy the podcast. Okay, Brendan, welcome to Iblis Manifestations, man. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. How the hell are you doing?
Hey, man. I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be here. This is a nice little break from all the tour prep that I've been doing for today. Been pretty busy because the tour starts tomorrow, but to be here talking to you, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely my pleasure. What's funny is that I'm looking at the background that you have, and it's like it perfectly matches the vibe that you got on the newest record. So I might see a hint of maybe you got some of the inspiration from.
Yep, yeah, definitely a lot of stuff is written here at home, and yeah, you know, I got guitars and a lot of natural wood in the house, and a lot of trees surrounding the house. So yeah.
Are you in kind of a remote location there, or?
Yeah, not incredibly remote because, you know, the band is based in Portland, Maine, but I'm about 35 to 40 minutes away from there, just kind of in an area that most people usually don't go.
Okay, sure. No, that's very cool, man. Yeah, so I was listening to your newest record, as per our mutual friend's recommendation, Eclipsing Worlds of Scorn. And funnily enough, first of all, congratulations on the release of the album. But also, interestingly enough, it seems that both of our albums came out on the same day, 30th of May, Friday last week.
Oh, get out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They both came out on the same day. So, my congratulations to you on the album, man. And
and you as well.
Thank you. Very, very proud of the one we did. So let's talk about it, man. Take me through this album. It's got quite a vibe. I think that everything from the cover to even some of the lyrics I was looking at, it was quite an interesting structure. I mean, just from the opening track, there's a lot of stuff happening, but instead of giving you all of my opinions, I'm just curious to maybe hear your take on it, and how are you feeling about it? What was your approach to the album, and so on?
Cool. Ultimately, just very naturally, it ended up being, I think, our most kind of tight, compact, and cohesive expression of what we're trying to do musically. Sort of also a different angle at the same center, I would think. I think there's a core feeling and approach that's kind of involved in every recording that we've done, but this one just kind of so happened to make itself the most efficient and also the most broad. And we can't be happier with it. We've been working on it for a really long time, so that we had time on our side, so we let these songs really kind of sit and kind of age, so to speak. Yeah. And
for sure, that's the tricky thing. Is always like trying to decide when it's actually finished as well. You know, that's like the curse of every album, I think. You know, because it's like having time is a good thing, but also having too much time could be a problem, you know, because it's like, when do you decide that it's actually finished?
Exactly. Just like everything else, it's pretty intuitive. From the first writing process to if we start to refine it, and then when we finish it, it's all pretty intuitive, honestly. We just kind of instinctually know. You know, so everything really did come out pretty naturally. So I can't really say that we had a really intense sit down conceptualizing what Eclipsing Worlds of Scorn was going to be. It just was what it was, pretty much, and we just kind of tried, and we just kind of pushed it along.
Okay, man, that makes sense. Yeah. So one thing that I kind of noticed as well that was interesting is that the music almost rewards you. So you've got your periods of kind of like struggle and tension within the music, you know, and the kind of like the chaos that it kind of like takes you through. And then now and then it'll give you like a reward, like a burst of something melodic, you know, that kind of works as somewhat of a climax or a relief, if you will, in the music. I quite like the dynamics of it in that sense.
Cool. Yeah, and that as well is not really strategic or a superimposed idea that we chose. It's kind of, I write the songs one piece at a time. Granted, sometimes it ends up being a middle piece that I find first, and then I can kind of sense what's before it and what's after it. But basically, once I get rolling, I go into the melodic part just without really thinking about it and pull back out of it again, just without thinking about it. It just kind of makes sense as far as processing emotion, I guess, and just trying to mirror that, or having a fucking horrible day and just like what happened internally, you know, trying to just sort of mimic that, I guess, with the ups and downs of the songs.
Processing emotions. I like that phrase a lot. I think it's very relevant to art and music. One thing that I've always said on here is, you know, the fact that us as musicians are very much kind of like emotional sponges, you know, but sometimes what we tend to do, I think, is, let's say, if a negative experience at least happens in day-to-day life, I think most people experience that, maybe go home and shout at their partner or whatever, or they just go drink themselves to death or whatever, you know, like that's how kind of like more normal people kind of get over these things. I think as musicians, we kind of take that and almost intentionally and purposely hold it in until we get the chance to explore it to music. I don't know how much you relate to that personally.
Yep. I think that makes a lot of sense. And that is one of a few different, I think, dynamics of life as a musician, but that's probably one of the most prominent ones, is what you do with your negative emotions and how well you understand them, I guess, is the key part. Because I do think maybe I don't like just saying normies, you know, but you know, just like maybe like there are maybe a lot of other people that just kind of don't even really understand what they're experiencing. If they get upset, and it's kind of too scary to think about, or they think that they're not supposed to think about it. And then it's just so confusing that's when it becomes like something that they need to lash out on other people. And I hate that, like, you know, people clearly just taking out their own struggles on other people. It's like one of the few things I cannot tolerate it. And I think since we are deliberately working with those feelings, as in the process, you kind of start to understand them a little bit, like level by level. It's almost like something that was scary to think about. If you just keep pushing yourself, it becomes less scary. I mean, like, that's kind of the classic metal thing, right? Like, it's terrifying at first, and then you're listening to it when you go to bed, and it's not scary anymore.
Sure,
all of a sudden it's comforting, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
Kind of the mirror concept of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that I like what you're saying about it as well, you know, and because it feels like, you know, with emotions in general, they have a weight and a value of their own. It's almost like something that has to be processed. That's why I picked up on that phrase when you said it earlier, you know, because it's like you either process it or you have to throw the ball at someone else, you know, and processing it is the much more difficult thing to do as well. And I think that when you kind of throw the ball on someone else, you know, you always see like bullies in school or even as adults, you know, usually are people that are hurt. You know, the saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And I think I suppose that's kind of what you're referring to there, you know, which is, I think, very true. You know, I think one of the things I love so much about this music, you know, and one of the reasons why it was never just a phase for me, you know, and perhaps the same for yourself. It's just the fact that you can always come back to it for a place of that processing, you know?
100%. It grows with you, I think is how I've kind of thought about it. Because, yeah, I mean, maybe there were people that you knew in middle school and high school that were like super amped on extreme metal as you were uncovering it, but then maybe later they're like, oh, I don't really fuck with that stuff anymore. And it's like, why do we? It's because it's not exactly. It means something to you when you're 14, and then it means something else to you when you're 24, and then when you're 34, and it's kind of.
I'd like to quickly interrupt this episode for the following message. My band TRIVAX will be releasing our third full-length album, The Great Satan, via the legendary Osmos Productions on the 30th of May, 2025. If you're into extreme metal that's unapologetically defiant, politically and religiously charged, and unafraid to make bold statements where other ways shy away, then you need to hear this album. I would say that musically, The Great Satan blends dark ritualistic Middle Eastern elements with traditional folk and very dynamic usage of the extreme metal subgenres, creating a unique and immersive soundscape. The intro track actually utilizes folk instruments, including baklama and oud, and throughout the album, you will also get the usage of 3 different languages. One, which is, of course, my native language of Farsi, or otherwise known as Persian. We also have songs that are sung in Arabic and, of course, English. The album embodies rebellion, violence, and ecstasy, unafraid to say what so many extreme metal bands will not. Copies will be available directly from the TRIVAX Bandcamp page, or otherwise from the official Osmos web store. Thank you for your support, and please enjoy the rest of the episode.
It's a way to keep growing, actually. It's not regressive. It's not trying to be a teenager your whole life. You know.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Being metal as an adult, I kind of like that a lot more than you know, being a metal teenager. I almost got more metal the older I've gotten, to be perfectly honest, because I was kind of sort of halfway like into classic rock and stuff, you know, in middle school and high school, and yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I like your perspective on that as well, you know, getting more metal as you go on, you know. I think that it's one of those things, you know, I think you get obviously a lot of genre tourists that kind of come in and, you know, just kind of take a bit of something and then they'll wear black for 5 minutes and then they move on. And I'm not necessarily against that either, you know, because even from like, if you really want to be mundane about it, even from a financial perspective, you know, they're still supporting the music for a while, you know, so that's still okay. But there's just so much more to this music, you know, like I said, I'm not against it, but I just don't relate to it, you know, because to me, it's this music is a way of life and a way of being. And playing it, to me, it's a process of spiritual evolution that I'm yet to find in anything else at the moment, thus far. Anyway, you know,
100%. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's kind of the same thing. The fact that it offers different sort of benefits, I guess, than maybe other methods. I mean, which obviously have their benefits too. Like, let's say, like someone would say, "Oh, what about meditation or yoga or whatever?" And it's like, yeah, well, that does offer you something, but it does not offer you the same thing that this does. And even painting or something wouldn't be the same, because painting is still it's one snapshot. You know, it's one image that's in one spot and it stays still. Music is animated and it's moving forward, you know, and it's tactile. You're like really actually have to use your fucking body in pretty aggressive ways sometimes in order to make it happen. And so that converging of like, yeah, there's like physical exertion that doesn't involve just being violent, but then also having a quote unquote artistic discipline that you're developing at the same time. That's something special.
Yeah, artistic discipline. Again, that's a very good phrase as well. So we're having these conversations. What does this look like within the context of the band itself, or perhaps more importantly, the live shows? As you said, obviously you're preparing for a tour coming tomorrow. What are the kind of the emotional processes, if you will, surrounding that whole thing as a collective?
I guess the main thing is the fact that it's kind of sort of the one thing that we're doing outside of work and spending time at home with our partners. You know, it's so it's just kind of the one thing. So several nights a week working on that stuff, that's kind of where it becomes a way of life, so to speak. But as far as preparing for the tour, it's almost like you kind of take a step back because you have to start thinking a little more critically at rehearsal instead of just diving in just to kind of belt it out for the joy of it. So we've been really kind of studious about it, like really like, where did we screw up and how do we tighten this up and whatever, so that we don't sound terrible on stage, you know? So yeah.
Well, that's always good. It's good to have that priority.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because we do not do any click track stuff live or any backing tracks. I mean, we just for the sake of extra creativity, we did grant ourselves the luxury of having a bunch of weird analog synthesizers on the record, right? And that's a layer that stays on the record. That's a very deliberate, like, we're just going to be a power trio live, but we're going to put weird little stuff on the recording, and it's going to be an obvious dividing line, I think. So
I actually quite enjoyed that element of it, you know, because for me, as someone who I'm sober now, but I still have a lot of reverence for psychedelics, you know. And if you experience psychedelics and music together, you start to listen out for certain things, you know. Yeah. And I remember, like, I think even like on just either the first or second track, like hearing like the kind of like the noises and things that kind of come in the middle of the song, you know, that sort of sit there in the middle. I suppose that's kind of what you're referring to. I love those kind of details. It feels like it's doing something to your consciousness almost.
Yeah, 100%. That was definitely the approach to it, because with maybe one or two exceptions, it's very like, it's kind of buried in there. And that's there's as far as I'm concerned, there's a sweet spot. There's this magic spot, and not even just with synth, all the other instruments, but especially synth, where it is not on top of anything else. and it's not behind it either. It's just kind of sort of like weirdly undulating above and below the surface, like right where the surface line is. And so sometimes you don't even know that it's there. And then there are times where you think it's there, but it's not. That's the interesting part too, is we have parts that we kind of experimented with the levels and the tones of the keyboards to the point where there are parts that sound more synthy and like, you know, almost symphonic, but there's actually no synth. It's just the guitar.
Right.
You know, so yeah, that psychedelic approach, I guess, is, like you mentioned, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is it's there if you're looking for it, or it's there only when you're tripping on acid or something.
Well, there's interesting stuff. I mean, your mind can play tricks on you as well, especially when the music is so multi-layered. Like, one thing I was just thinking is there's songs of our own. There's my own songs that there are certain parts that I listen to, and I know what's in there because, well, I fucking made it. But then I will be hearing things every time that I know is not there. Like, for example, there's a song we got called Into the Void. And the intro of that, particularly the later version that we put up, whenever I listen to because it starts with like a guitar fade in, and like it's kind of like a semi-dissonant chord, and then the chords come in. In that period when the guitar's fading in, whenever I listen to it, I always hear sounds of creaking giant plates of metal and chains. But I know that's not there. Yeah. You know, and it's not even like the guitar's so distorted that you'll hear that. It's just something that it's a trick that my mind plays on me every single time I listen to that. Don't know if you ever have anything like that as well.
Yeah, that's a cool one. That's a distinct one. I think to an extent, yeah, but I can't think of any examples of, like, at least with the new record. I'm trying to think of. It's kind of weird. I mean, I was saying on another interview that the chords that I write kind of have these weird. They end up having these weird, like, photographic like things that kind of pop up whenever I use the chord or something, you know. And it's, even if it has something to do with even if it doesn't have anything to do with the song that I'm working on. But yeah, I mean, I think it's more so like like the imagining thing, like, you know, like we'll do riffs and it's like I kind of imagine this weird tornado, but like we didn't put a tornado sample there, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting to. So let's talk about this then. So if you really want to be a connoisseur, because you have a slightly unusual style of music, okay? You have a very unique sort of sound between the three of you. I don't want to call it a formula, because to me, formula in music is kind of, it's almost like a derogatory term. But
I totally agree, yeah.
Yeah, but, and it's something that's definitely overdone in metal and extreme metal, especially the more commercial side of it that you get to. And to me, it always feels like it defeats the purpose, you know. It's kind of like, okay, well, now it's just a product, you know, and it's the thing that I always try and get away from.
It's a fucking brand, you know.
It's a brand,
like the word brand in metal is starting to become a real pet peeve of mine, you know. But anyway,
sure. Yeah, I get that. So I think we're quite like-minded on that anyway. But let's say if you really want to be a connoisseur, what is the best way to listen to the music of Obsidian Tongue? Is it in a specific mood, specific mindset, or is, like we kind of mentioned earlier, is it psychedelics? Like, what would you, as the creator of it, say, oh, this is the best place to go and listen to this music?
I think just alone, probably, and just anywhere where you're actually sitting down for the sole purpose of listening, you know? Because some people, like, they're all like, oh, I like to put on music when I'm doing housework or whatever, or like when I'm doing emails or something.
Taking a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Distracting things like that, you know. I just really have always liked the dynamic of being one of those bands that kind of people hear it and they know there's like, this is something I need to just sit down and really absorb, and probably turn off the lights or something, you know. But everyone's different. As mundane as it sounds, one of my favorite music listening experience is always just driving around. I just kind of like.
Oh yeah.
A lot of my favorite albums I bonded with just kind of just driving, and so I hope that we're pretty good driving music, but I also think, being at home and just yeah,
the drive test is super important, man. That's one of the best ways to do it. Do you ever do that with like just the demos as you're going through the process of making the record or anything?
Definitely. Especially because we care a lot about track sequencing and getting these songs to flow in a way that's like interesting with all of our albums. So as one song becomes 2, becomes 3, becomes 4, almost like right away, I like to try to listen to one into the other, like just even if it's just the ending, like the ending into the beginning of the other one. That's like one of the things that I would always do with demos, as we're working on things, is just listen to the last minute or 30 seconds of track 1 and then be like, what happens if this is track 2? And like just listen to that, and and then you just kind of know when it works and when it doesn't.
And listening to the keys as well. So like what riff does this song end in? So the one after could be something else. Or if you really want to like mix it up and stuff. I think honestly like track selection is... Hey, just a quick moment of your time. For the past 3 years, Iblis Manifestations has been entirely self-funded. This means that every subscription fee, every piece of equipment, all of the travel expenses have come out of my own pocket. Over time, people have asked me how they can support the podcast, and to be honest with you, up until now, the answer's been pretty straightforward, and that is simply spread the word. But now, there's another way. I have set up a Patreon account where followers of the podcast will be able to make monthly donations to the podcast, and this will help cover the costs of streaming gear and basically everything else that goes into making this show. This isn't about making a profit, and to be completely honest, it's not about breaking even either, because that's certainly not been the case for the last 3 years. However, if you do find value in the conversations that we're having on this podcast and wish to help them forward, then you can now support the show. Just head to the link in description and hit the Patreon button. In addition to that, be sure to check out the Iblis Manifestations Big Cartel page, where we will be selling exclusive merchandise for the podcast. At the moment, we got the Extreme Podcast for Extreme People t-shirts, limited to only 30 copies, and the pre-orders will be sent out from the 1st of July. So the link for that is in the description. And in the future, the Big Cartel page will also include some occult accessories and jewelry, which will be handcrafted by myself. And we will also be selling merch and records by other bands as Iblis will expand into a label of its own. And, of course, it goes without saying, thank you for supporting Iblis Manifestations. It is much appreciated. It is an underrated aspect of making an album, and it is, in my experience, one of the most difficult things you can do for an album as well.
Yeah. It actually is a substantial amount of actual work, trying to figure that out. And when you are building from the ground up with that in mind, it can actually go so far as to leak into what the final arrangement of the song is. For instance, let's say, I want to have a clean part like 3/4 of the way into this song or something, but then it's like, oh man, this song flows so well into the other song that has clean at the beginning or something.
Yeah.
And it's like that would be, you know what I mean? Like then they start to feel lopsided, and then it's like, well, what if we move it around or whatever? Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, one of the magics of playing a live show is the fact that you get to scramble the sort of the structure of it. I don't know if you guys exclusively kind of play it to the album structure, or if you kind of mess around with like different variations, especially if you have older material to put in there, I suppose you'll probably get the chance to do that as well. That's one of the most fun things, I think, you know, when you get to say, well, what happens if you play it this way now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think we're going to, as far as this new album goes, I think we're going to experiment with that more after this. Like, you know, we have a very distinct like way of representing the album for this one, because it's kind of our first time out and this whole thing. But first time out with this record, I should say. And then, but I do like what you're talking about, where the you know, the last song on your album, like, oh, what if we play it second? And it's like, wow, that's going to kick people's ass, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be cool.
Because now essentially you have way more songs. It's kind of like a live set list is like one of the most difficult, but one of the most fun things to put together, you know, because
we love it. We love it. It's so fun.
Yeah, man. It's almost like trying to build your own roller coaster that you're going to sit in and then just like, you know, hit the button and then it just like fucking goes, you know, but then however way you structure it, however way you decide, the experience is gonna go. It's gonna go like that, and sometimes it works really well, and then sometimes you get to a middle point, and it's like, oh, we just had a lot of hype on the last song, but then this song doesn't feel like it follows the other one as well. Do you ever get that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's good fun, man. You know, it's good fun when you try and do that, and as a collective, obviously, the more you try and do that with the band, the better it gets. How long is it that the three of you have been playing together now?
So it's kind of. Well, so as far as being a trio goes, because so the addition of a bass player is very new, actually, to us.
Okay.
So, you know, we started to play shows again for the first time in 2023, and so Brian came in on bass for those shows, and we moved forward from there. But before that, we were a working two-piece for a very long time. Ray, the drummer, has been in the band since 2016.
Okay.
But I have started the band in 2009.
Okay, yeah.
And so it was solo project. Then at the end of 2009, I hooked up with the first drummer, and then we did quite a good bit of work together, like, you know, 2 albums and a lot of shows and stuff. And then we parted ways, and then Ray came involved. So it's been a band for quite a long time. But it's been a trio for a very short period of time, you know?
Okay.
But, yeah.
I got it. You know, the funny thing, I'll tell you, that's another thing we have in common, other than the release of our latest records, is we also started in 2009, and I was also a one-man black metal project at the time when it first started. Yeah. Obviously, granted, this was in Tehran, Iran, you know, and the reason why I was a one-man project is because I didn't fucking know anyone else who even played or listened to this music, you know?
Right.
You know? So that was kind of the reasoning behind it, but that's an interesting parallel right there.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, I definitely did. I'm sure, I know that I did not have the same level of difficulty that you did, you know, delving into that stuff and trying to make something real on, you know, come out of it. But to an extent, funny enough, I didn't really like when I started doing black metal, like my other friends really weren't into it, and I didn't know anyone else yet that did black metal. And so really I'm really nostalgic for the first couple of years when I was messing with this stuff, because it really was like I would go and do other stuff with my friends, and we had a band that was like a different style, and then I kind of go home and shut the lights off, and then it was black metal time, you know?
Yeah.
It was very, sure. And I didn't even know, you know, the first time I met a drummer that like could play blast beats, I'm like, whoa, you're doing those blast beats things. And, you know, he's like, yeah. And I'm like, shit, do you want to be in my black metal band? You know?
Yeah, bro, finding a drummer that can actually play blast beats is like winning the lottery almost.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
Especially when you're first starting out as well, you know, it's just like one of those novelties, you know, and then that drummer is already in like 6 other bands, and
of course, yeah,
it's just one of those. Yeah. Tell you what, one thing I also wanted to ask you about as well, since we're talking about the kind of like the earlier inception of the band and everything, From my understanding, I apologize if you've talked in any other interviews about this. I haven't seen you talk about it before. I assume you must have, but I know that you were meant to be joining Woods of Ypres as a member, and and then obviously David very tragically passed away at a young age. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about that sort of time period? What was your relationship with him like, and what was even the thing that made you guys want to join forces in that band?
Right. Yeah. So in 2011, this is after our first maybe year of playing shows, and we started to meet more and more people, and we were playing the cool venues and whatnot, and and then the guy's like, "Yo, I got like Woods of Ypres coming into town. Do you guys want to open for him?" It's like, holy shit, of course. Yeah, definitely fucking want to open for Woods of Ypres, and so we did, and I still remember, it was just like a cool memory of mine was, so the way that this place was set up was, like many places, kind of a long rectangle, and the merch is in the back corner.
Okay.
So if you're on stage and like just the first, back and to the right, kind of out of sight, is kind of where the merch was, and so we start playing, and I knew that the dudes were back there, like David was back there. And then we're finishing our first song. We're like at like the last riff of the last song, and like someone is like right in front of the monitor looking at me, and it was David Gold. He came all the way up, and he had like the approving metal scowl, and he's just like,
yeah, nice.
And
one.
He was
yeah,
and I was like, oh shit, But then he kind of disappeared. But then like we finish, and I kind of go back there, and before I could even get myself situated at our table, he's like, "You guys are fucking great, man," and it was super, super cool. So like both him and the lead guitar player Joel, I met that night. Joel and I are still really good friends. Anyway, I'm kind of getting a little off track, but basically after that, we all became Facebook friends and whatever, and would like each other's stuff here and there, and he just straight up in October, I think he made a post saying that they needed a new rhythm section. Basically, they needed a drummer and a bass player, and that they had a bunch of live stuff planned. You have to be like willing to actually do the thing, do this for real, like quit your job and go on tour and stuff like that, and at that point I was like, yeah, I'll totally fucking do that. So So I emailed him, and then we talked a bit, and then he's like, I've seen you play, so I know you're good enough, so yeah, you got the gig if you want it. And it's just like, fuck yeah, and then I got looped into the email chain as they were working on that last album, Woods 5, and it's kind of like the show ideas were all kind of coming in, and the rough mixes of the album, and it was really interesting to actually hear that album like way before it was done. It was like they were mixing them one at a time and kind of getting them sent out and then revised, and I was like just listening to those to learn the stuff to get ready for the shows. I'm like, fuck, this is crazy.
Because they were on a massive hype at that point as well, because the fourth one absolutely killed it. I think they were making a lot of noise in those years, especially if I remember. So I can only imagine how exciting that must have been, And I like his seriousness as well, saying like, oh yeah, you got to quit your job to join the band. I imagine that must have been like being a kid at Christmas, hearing that.
Yeah, especially because I think I had just turned 23, I think. So that's a reasonable period of time to, go do something crazy like that, So, everything was just in place. We were all ready to go. We had the date set, which I think was like the second week of January or something like that. That we were supposed to, me and the drummer, we were going to carpool up, and we were going to, meet in Ontario and rehearse for a couple weeks, and then go fly out to the UK to do some earache, whatever, and then then we're going to do a music video while we're out there. It's like, oh, fuck. And it's like, oh, and we might go tour with this. I won't start name dropping bands, but, like the label was getting them on some pretty big tours, and it was like, fuck, this is crazy. Here we go. And then but then I got that fucking call at 7 a.m. that, in December, and just like, holy fuck,
How did you get what were you doing, and who gave you the call? How did you receive the news about his passing?
The new drummer, Ray Amate, she heard it first, and she called me, and that's how I woke up, was she was calling me. And so I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she, clearly sounded upset. But yeah, so she found out and she called me, and that's yeah. And then it was kind of like, hey boss, never mind. I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting anymore. And it's just like, oh, what happened? And it's just like brutal to have to explain to everyone, like over and over. Everyone's like, oh, what happened? What happened to the Canada thing? And weren't you like gonna go play in the band in Canada? And it's just like, yeah, the guy died in a car crash, man. And just like have same thing over and over. It's just like, fuck, that was pretty intense. But the best thing that came out of it was that we Joel, who was the other member on the last record, wrote like half the music on there. By the way, he's a brilliant musician, and we started a really great friendship out of it. And I started playing in his side project Rosenblatt as a result of that whole thing. We just kind of started working on Rosenblatt after a couple months instead. Once we were all kind of regrouped and ready to think about doing something else, right? So,
what was going through your head at that moment? Because it's one thing, I can imagine the suck of it, trying to explain to everyone why you're not making the move, and and the fact that it is a tragedy that's happened, but like what were your own thoughts, like internally within yourself, when you're met with something like that? Because on one hand, yes, it's a fantastic opportunity to play with a band like that, especially like I said, at that time, they were making a lot of noise, and they probably would have continued to make a lot more noise, and they still did. A lot of people, you still go to festivals and stuff, you still see people wearing Woods of Ypres shirts and whatnot. My fiance, they're like one of her favorite bands of all time. That's actually how I know quite a bit about them, because of her listening to them in the car. But cool. But like, what, on one hand there is that, so it sucks all of a sudden knowing that you're not going to be a part of that. But also on the other hand, this is a guy and a very talented young artist who just very suddenly passes away at a young age. So how were you dealing with that? Are you still dealing with it? Like, what were your own kind of like thought process around that time?
I honestly don't remember many of the distinct thoughts, because I guess I didn't really know what to think. And I didn't know what to do, I guess, was the thing. Because if something like that happens, I want to help others more so than anything else. But to be honest, I didn't know him that well. It really, like, we just met once and really like each other, and then talked on Facebook, and then through email, basically, he's like, yeah, you're in the band now. And it's just like, it's fucking cool, man. I can't wait to hang out with this guy and get to know him better and whatever. And, but I didn't know anyone, you know what I mean? And it's just kind of weird. And I was just so far away. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do. But I did talk to his mom and stuff. I managed to find her online. And it's just like, what else can I do? Because I wasn't exactly like in his inner circle, or, and I wouldn't like take this as a chance to like start to try to like inject myself into other people's lives. So it's kind of like,
that's very respectful. I get that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because like, I don't know, I don't know, grief and loss and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. It just feels weird to, like, what do you do? What do you say? Or what do you not say? Who do you talk to, or who do you not? Because, it hurts to not talk to someone for a long time. This is another example, like maybe just people that die that you grew up with or something. It's like, oh, I haven't talked to so-and-so in 15 years, but our mutual friend died or something. And it's just like, and it sucks. They'll be like, this is the only reason I'm talking to you right now is because someone died. Like, like, I hate that. I hate dealing with that. And I've dealt with that stuff a lot. So that one, I was just bewildered, I think, was the main thing. I was like really blown away that happened, because all I really cared about was being a musician, and I did feel really good about what was happening with Obsidian, and I knew I was going to continue, but it was also like, man, like, I hate working jobs, like I would rather just be fucking playing, man, even if it's with other bands, like in conjunction with mine. And it was the first time that it was like, oh man, a band that I actually super like is looking for a bass player, and I'm more of a bass player than a guitar player, honestly. So it's just like play bass for this sick fucking band that's going to start doing a bunch of big tours, and then do my own music on the side. Like, that sounds fucking great, you know? Yeah, and then all of a sudden, yeah, just instantly, just like, never mind, you're not doing that. And yeah, it was wild. It was wild, man. But after a while, you just, yeah, I don't know. You don't like forget about it, but you just kind of accept it somehow.
Sure. No, I appreciate that, you know, and I can only empathize with how much of a kick in the balls that must have been to do that, you know. And that's obviously, in a situation like that, you don't necessarily, you clearly is, you know, you already had your own thing, so it's not like you went and quit playing music afterwards or anything like that. You know, we're sat here now in 2025 talking about your new album that's just come out a week ago. So, you know, there is I suppose there is a silver lining, you know, but yeah, that must have been a difficult and unique situation. Is that perhaps one of those things that I guess maybe no one really even prepares you for?
Yeah. No, there's definitely, yeah, not much of a preparation for it. So I think everyone learns, I don't know, through really awful trial and error, like how to handle loss and death and, you know, stuff like that. And that was one of, it would turn out to be like kind of several deaths of people that, you know, in my life, like that. And so it was kind of rapid fire in the course of a couple of years. So then, yeah, I guess through that, there wasn't really any choice but to kind of sort of accept that everyone I love is going to die, you know? But like, and it's just weird to even say, but you know, but you can't hide from it because you have no fucking idea when it's going to happen, whether it's going to be an accident or whether it's going to be intentional or, you know, or a long drawn out illness or whatever. It's going to happen, and you have to somehow, I don't know, appreciate the present moment more.
Yeah.
Like you're like forced to cherish the present moment a little more through that kind of thing.
100%, man. You know, I appreciate you being open and honest about that as well. And by the way, I don't think it's weird to say it at all, you know, because that's something that I think about all the time. And I think, you know, sometimes as guys, we think more that about others than we even do ourselves, you know, like if someone says, you know, if it's you yourself dying as a person is kind of like, okay, you know, I guess I'll deal with that. But then the thought of like someone that you care about or someone that's close to you, that's 10 times worse, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, yeah, exactly. Kind of thinking more about, being okay with yourself dying. And it's like, I got this, you know, I'm not scared of dying. And then the other, you know, other people die. And it's just like, holy fuck, you know, I didn't know how to get ready for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's important. You know what? This is a good conversation to have because it's something that I've pondered about a lot in my own life. And, you know, it's the understanding that there's an expiry date on everything. Okay? You know, like life is eternal, but also within its different formats, there are expiry dates. You know, it goes through changes and cycles. You know, no one lives forever. Nothing lives forever. Well, it kind of does, but then it changes format also, you know, and it's the format that we get very much attached to. And that's okay. It's okay to feel some kind of attachment towards that. But I think that, you know, the thing that you got to remember, you know, it's like one of the hardest things for a lot of people to think about is perhaps, you know, even, let's say even pets, okay? Like I love my cats. Like my cats are my world. Okay. Like if anyone
I got two cats too.
Oh yeah, what's their names?
Yeah, Mimsy and Arntor.
Mimsy, I love that. That's not Mimsy as in South Park Mimsy, is it? Or is that just a general name?
That ended up being the funny coincidence because I do love South Park, and then after a while I'm like, that kid's name is Mimsy. That's hilarious. But
yeah.
She's a girl, and I don't know. It just kind of like went from like being like Missy to being Mimsy. You know what I mean?
Sure. That's cute.
And
How
then
old are
and
they?
then she is like 14 now,
Oh
possibly
wow.
15, possibly 15 because I don't know when she was born. She looks incredible. She still looks the same as when she was 2. You know, she hasn't aged at all. But and then Arntor,
Amazing.
named after the Windeer album, and that character that the song's
Yep.
about.
Love it.
He's 7 now.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Okay.
anyway, yeah.
So they both have like a little bit of an age on them as well, then especially
Yeah.
Mimsy. But this is the thing that I think about, with my cats. They're considerably younger, but even then, I'm always thinking like, oh fucking hell, like I'm probably gonna outlive you at some point, and I can't bear the thought of the day that like you're not gonna be there anymore, and
Yeah.
and that's a painful thing in itself. But then realizing it's the same with relationships, like if you get with someone, if you want to marry them or whatever, it's like, yeah, that person's gonna go. Either you go first or they go first. Either way, there's an expiry date. Do you just not get together? Do you just not do the things that you do together?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like, what are you gonna do? What's the alternative? There isn't an alternative. That's the thing, other than to just not have any friends or family and pets, and you just live in a dark room with nobody. You can't do that. You got to live.
Absolutely. I think it's a great lesson to take out of that, is in life, you got what's in front of you, what's around you, I think gratitude is a very, very important, powerful grounding force, that I don't think it gets discussed often enough, especially in the context of modern culture, because you're always told to, hey, hustle, you got to go get more, you got to go get that, and don't get me wrong, there's value in being competitive, there's value in trying to add to your own value as a person in life. But on the other hand, I think gratitude can also go a very long way of actually realizing what it is that you have. Like you just said, you're going on tour tomorrow. That's something to be grateful for, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think gratitude as a practice has been a real key concept, I think, in the last few years of my life.
Okay.
Just kind of, and even just being like, this sucks. I'm so down about this and whatever. It's like, but I was like, but I'm still grateful that I'm alive. Just like kind of just say it. Just kind of say it. As like a practice or even like a counter practice to the other trains of thought. But it's kind of been a thing because, well, to be honest, because I haven't brought this up because I don't really make this like a press thing or media thing or whatever. But on the subject of loss, 3 years ago, my mom died unexpectedly.
My condolences.
And thanks. And so that was obviously that's a completely different level than your pet or your bandmate or whatever, or the kid that you grew up across the street from, or because he died too. And it's like it was totally different thing. But I think out of that, there was this weird period of guilt for how much time I spent not enjoying life and just kind of being down in the dumps for stupid shit. And so I just started to say, I'm so grateful that she made me. I'm so happy that so happy that she put me on this earth. Like, this sucks. This is gonna suck. I'm broke or whatever, but like, I'm so fucking happy that I'm here because that's what she did. With her life, she could have done a lot of other things, but she made 3 kids instead.
That's beautiful to hear, man. I thank you for sharing that, And the thing is as well, you got to realize that just by sharing something like that, there's someone else out there who might be hearing that, and that might basically mean the world to them, as a reminder. That's very good, actually. I like the conclusion of it. Were you and your mother, were you quite close?
Yeah, I think so. We had a really great relationship, to be honest. I mean, some people fight with their parents a lot, right? And
Yeah.
and even like, especially in teens, that's a notorious thing. But I kind of had this one year of my life when I was 15, and I was fucking awful. I was like such a shit, you know, and it was, everything they said, I was just like spitting it off, and I was just like leaving the house for extended periods and whatever, and just being awful. And then that year ended, and then I turned 16, and then I like kind of sort of just calmed down. I was like, wow, you know, my parents are pretty cool, and can proudly say I didn't get in a single spat of any sort with her from when I right around when I turned 16 onwards. So it was like, yeah, we got along great. And once I got older, we could almost have more conversations, almost as friends, right? You know, that kind of thing. And yeah, no, she was fun. Yeah, so we had a good relationship.
That's good to hear, man. I was the same. I still am the same. You know, I've luckily never had a relationship like that with my parents. I've had to live quite far away from them for what feels like most of my life at this point, because I left the country. But I still speak to them every day. You know, they're good people, very supportive. And I do relate to how that distance, you know, it's one of those things, you know, like life sometimes really makes it fucking awkward, because it's like, you know, even when you have the thing that you want to have there, it's a thing of like, well, I know it's not going to be there one day, so I got to make the most of it. And then sometimes it's like, there's nothing you can do. Just be present, just be chill. You don't have to be doing stuff all the time, you know. And that's, for me personally, a very hard pill to swallow, but I do accept that that's kind of just the reality of it also.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having these really heavy thoughts, but how do you put them into practice properly, and how to not be, I don't know. Like, what do you do with it? And it's like, honestly, yeah, it's like, just chill out with your parents and have a good time every once in a while, you know? Yeah. And just give them a fucking call, man. You know, they love it.
Just give them a call, yeah. Or if it's not your parents, like whoever, maybe someone you grew up with, maybe an old friend or whatever, you know. I think it's important, you know. Sometimes we need reminders to do that because we keep ourselves so busy, you know, and then time's just like fucking flying by at the maximum speed, you know. So
yeah, insanely fast, man. It's like so weird, yeah. Especially the last few years. I think everyone's been saying that. I might just be echoing the same thing, but COVID onwards, it's like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, I know, man.
Like I got like old really fucking fast. It was like, you know, I don't know. Yeah, such a weird few years.
Are you married now?
Yeah, I been married in November. Actually, I've been 10 years.
Okay, wow, 10 years. Okay, so
we got married pretty young, yeah.
So your mother got to see you get married as well. That's important, yes. I guess. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. That's good, man. What's an advice you would want to give to a young aspiring couple, or a person who might even be single right now listening to this?
Oh, interesting. I never think of these things. You know, because I can't even say I'm much of an expert, you know, because I'm not, you know. I just kind of sort of met the one, and it was like, okay, well, this is it, so we need to figure it out, right? But
well, I don't think there is such a thing as an expert in this context, because you know, every person has a different fingerprint. So two people together, that's an entirely rare combination, and people are irreplaceable. So within the context of that, what is something that perhaps you've learned that you think, that's a good solid advice that's worth noting?
You really to truly listen to what they're saying. Really listen to them as individuals, and I think maintaining a level of respect that maybe some people kind of being able to, you know, I don't know. It seems like some couples have a difficult time continuing to respect each other as individuals. It's kind of like you meet someone and you have a couple conversations, like, wow, that person's like super cool. Like, They got, they're really smart and they're an individual, and you're like looking at them kind of out in the world. It's like that's like a wonderful individual. But then you live together and you know what I mean, and you sleep together and you do everything together, and somehow that, like, I don't want to that sort of initial looking at them as a whole individual, as if like when you first saw them in person or something, like we're continuing to remember that, I think goes a long way, because then the conversations maintain a level of respect that a lot of relationships dip way down below.
That's true.
There's like, if a friend asks you your opinion about something, you would give them your opinion in a certain way, and you need to just kind of do the same thing with your partner. Don't make it weird. Don't make it different. Don't act like they aren't a full individual that you need to respect, no matter what.
That's actually such a good point. I'm glad I asked you this now, man. Because the thing I suppose I'm getting from it as well, me and my partner, we've been together a long time as well. I suppose it's maintaining a healthy level of boundaries without those boundaries necessarily being walls, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. They're not walls. They're just they're boundaries. It's two very different things, I think.
Yeah. That's good, man. I love it. There you go. Like I said, I'm glad I asked you that. Maybe someone listening to this, can take a note from that, and apply it to their own life. Who knows? But that's why we have these conversations. Brendan, my man, this has been such a fun chat. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you being quite daring, because I ask, very, questions that, might require a degree of going to difficult places for them, but you fucking handled it like a champ. As we kind of round this off, is there anything that you want to share with people? Anything you want them to keep an eye out for? Anything broad, or perhaps just even band related? If you want to plug, you just go for it, man. Share whatever you like.
Right. Thank you. It's probably pretty basic, but I mean, I really just want to say thanks for all the new people that have been checking us out. Because this Obsidian Tongue has just been a way of life, so to speak, for me for a very long time, and I stopped thinking about it growing a massive audience like a long time ago. I haven't really had any expectations for that. So the fact that with this new album and the people supporting us, a lot of new people are listening, and I just want to say thank you for listening, and I hope you keep listening. And I hope I hope people will actually truly listen to the music for what it is, instead of what you think it is like, or comparing it to something else, right? Because we're trying to do something that's singular, our own thing,
Absolutely, man. Love it. There we go. We heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to support the fuck out of Obsidian Tongue. Brendan, once again, thank you very much. And we'll see you guys. Oh, look at this.
I just wanted... he wandered in, so I figured I'd introduce you to Arntor.
Arntor, oh my God.
Yeah.
How's it going, buddy?
The Norwegian warrior that decapitated the king for raising the taxes.
Oh, man. That's fucking amazing. People watching the YouTube version just got a big fluffy treat just then.
Yeah.
There we go, man. Awesome. Appreciate you sharing him. And to everyone who listened to the episode, hope you guys enjoyed this one. And we'll see you on the next episode of Iblis Manifestations. Bye-bye.
See you, man.